What's up guys, today we're checking out the JJRC H31 and this one was sent to me courtesy of LiveTake.com. Not only is this a really fun quadcopter, but it comes with a pretty sweet pair of sunglasses to protect your eyes while you're flying. Yeah. The JJRC H31 is what I would call a medium-sized quadcopter. A little bit smaller than, say, an X5C or something like that, but also larger than a micro quad, so it's kind of somewhere in between. And the big draw to this one is it's advertised as waterproof. Now, is that 100% true? Sort of. And I'm gonna give you air quotes on this one because I don't think it's actually waterproof or even necessarily water resistant. I would say it's more of a, you can get this wet and it'll still work. Definitely not waterproof. There are plenty of openings underneath the quadcopter where the motors are and even the battery bay. So I definitely wouldn't call this one waterproof, but I would definitely say you can get it wet and it's still gonna fly and it's still gonna function exactly the way you would expect it to. I was able to take this out to a small pond, and at first I was very hesitant to put this in the water, so I just kind of did the equivalent of dipping the toes in and kind of skimmed it across the surface of the water and got it a little bit wet, but didn't want to submerge it at first, and it seemed to respond fine, so I kept on trying my luck with it and I got it more wet and more submerged, and even found that you can kind of skim it across the top of the water almost like an RC boat, and it'll still kind of move around. And I was even able to cut the props and let it just sit in the water and then raise it up out of the water. And once I got it out of the water, I was still able to do the flips and some funnels and fly it around in general, and it responded just the way it would if I hadn't gotten it wet. So definitely you can fly this one, get it wet, and it's still gonna perform admirably. Flight characteristics on the JJRC H31 are, it flies very well, it's very controllable in the lower rates. There are 3 rates on it, the low rate being the most docile, and you can fly that around if you're a beginner, and it's gonna be a very smooth flyer, very responsive. And then if you bump it up to the second rate, it's gonna get a little bit quicker, a little bit more aggressive, a lot more pitch, and the yaw is gonna increase on you. And then if you go to the third rate, it gets very pitchy and the yaw rate is insane on this one. You get that thing spinning, pirouetting, and it just looks like a blur in the air, spinning around faster than a top. And you can do some extremely tight funnels with it. So definitely a cool trick with this one is the pirouetting and the funneling. I definitely like flying it in the third rate so you can take advantage of the insane yaw. But if you just want to fly around kind of casually, the third rate is a little bit difficult to fly because the yaw rate is so quick, so you can very easily over yaw this one. So I think if you're just going to generally fly this one around, the second rate is probably where you want to be. It's a little bit more controllable, the yaw rate is still pretty quick on it, and it's just easier to fly in that second rate. The third rate is mostly for kind of doing tricks and stunts with that insane yaw rate. Along with the insane yaw rate, we got some pretty good flips on the H31 here. The flips are very tight, it flips in all 4 directions, and it doesn't seem to have any problems recovering from the flips. Another thing I found with the H31 is it is very possible to confuse the accelerometer here. This happens particularly when you're doing some crazy funnels or pirouettes. It's like the accelerometer is trying so hard to keep it level and upright, and you're just spinning it so fast and giving it crazy funnels, and it just falls right out of the sky. And it's happened to me on a number of occasions. Not really an issue because it's also a good durability test for this quadcopter, and it's always passed it in my experience. I've crashed it into the railing on my porch and hit it pretty hard, and it wasn't any worse for the wear. Didn't even have a mark on it, didn't bend any props, definitely didn't break any props. So something to be aware of, that the accelerometer can tend to get a little bit confused, but not really an issue. You just let it sit for a minute and then it seems to reset itself and everything's all good to go. The look of the quad is very cool. It kind of has like a spaceship look to it, or maybe even a race car, but definitely very futuristic look to it. I have the white version. It also comes in a green version, and I think they're both pretty sharp. Underneath, if you inspect the quad, you're going to find an on-off switch and a camera port. So there is a camera version of this quad. I do not have the camera version, so I can't really speak to the quality of the camera. I would guess it's on par with all the toy grade quadcopters you're going to find. And then towards the back, you're going to find your battery bay. And the battery bay is very adequate for the included battery, but I did have a few issues with stuffing the cable and closing the door. But that's kind of par for the course with these quadcopters. The battery is a 400 milliamp hour, 3.7 volt, 30C battery, and it takes about 45 minutes to charge with the included charger. Also included with the quad is a full set of props for spares and a set of prop guards. And it does have landing skids. When I got the quad, it had the landing skids attached, and I took them off just to get a little more aerodynamic and maybe just a slight increase on the flight time. Also like the look of it without the landing skids. So that's more of a personal preference. Doesn't really affect the flight performance or anything like that. Another little modification that I did here is I attached the prop guards and then I actually cut them off. And the only reason I did that was because the prop guards will actually cover the gears to your motor. And I thought that would offer a little bit of protection from water if you're gonna get this one wet, and also dirt and dust and any sort of debris that could find its way into your motors. That's a good way to kill your motors, is to get the gears dirty inside there. So I think it's a good option to attach these prop guards and then just kind of cut them off. Flight times on this is around the 5 to 6 minute range. Seems to go kind of quick, but a lot of times when I'm flying this one, I'm doing the insane yaw spins and the insane pirouettes and funnels. So I'm guessing that kind of kills the battery. So if you want to fly this around a little bit more gently, you probably get a better flight time out of it. But for me, I like to fly this one kind of sporty and do some tricks with it. So that seems to kind of kill the battery a little bit faster, obviously. You do get an LVC warning, and the LEDs on here are a little bit difficult to see, especially in the daylight. Didn't really fly this one at night. You probably could, and it would probably look pretty cool with the yaw rate on it, actually. But you do seem to get an LVC warning, but I was never really quite able to pin down exactly how long it is. It's definitely adequate to get the quad back to you. It gives you plenty of warning. I'm gonna say it's at least 30 to 45 seconds, maybe even a minute. Pretty long LVC warning. If we go over the transmitter really quick, it is your very basic hobby grade style transmitter. The upper left button is gonna be your rates button, and there are 3 rates on this one, a low, a medium, and a high. And the upper right button is going to be your flip button. And one thing to note with this, I have noticed that you kind of have to push the button down and then be very deliberate about the input you're giving it, which direction you want it to flip in, because sometimes I get a little too quick with the pushing of the button and then giving it input and it doesn't register. So one thing to note there, you kind of got to push the button, then give it a second, and then give it your input. Otherwise, you won't get consistent flips out of it. Outside of that, it does have return to home and headless mode, and they seem to work okay. I messed around with them a little bit. Headless mode and return to home on these quads are really a feature I kind of wish they would get rid of, because they don't really work so well, and it would be more interesting to come up with some other sort of feature for these quadcopters, because I don't think most people that really fly these quads a lot really even use them. So I really wish manufacturers would kind of come up with something new other than the headless mode and return to home. I mean, they're always marketing that as like a big feature, but I feel like people who fly a lot would never even use them. So I kind of wish they would just get on the ball and just come up with maybe, you know, automated tricks that they could do or something like that, or even including acro mode or rate mode or something like that. Something that's going to appeal more toward an advanced flyer than a beginner. Because I feel like, quite honestly, the headless mode and the return to home features are useless. So in conclusion, I really like the JJRC H31. I think it's going to appeal to a bunch of different flyers out there, from the beginner to the advanced, and I definitely like the fact that you can get this one wet and not really have to worry about it. I really enjoyed kind of dipping it in the water and then bringing it out and then flipping it and stuff like that, and seeing the beads of water just come flying off. I think it was a real cool trick for the H31 here, and definitely if you have like access to a lake or something like that, you're gonna have fun flying this around, getting it a little wet and kind of bashing it around a bit. There you have it, JJRC H31. And I really enjoyed this one. It has the insane yaw rate on it. It has the waterproof feature. and it's really a lot of fun to fly. So I think a lot of people are gonna have a lot of fun with this one. It's gonna appeal to a wide range of flyers out there, from the novice to the intermediate advanced. So definitely check this one out. I want to say thanks again to Litake for sending me this one for review. And if you're interested in this quad, I'll definitely have a link in the description, so check that out. Click the links, they support the channel, and I can keep giving you guys reviews. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions about the H31 here or anything at all, hit me up in the comments below. I thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And until the next video, happy flying and try not to crash and burn. Kids, if you really don't have a camera attached, what do we got here? Look at these birds. Whoa, everybody's going south for the winter here. Winter is coming. Look at all these birds, that's amazing. There's hundreds of them. Wow. That's definitely the most birds I've ever seen fly overhead at one time. And they just keep coming. These guys must be the stragglers back here. Anyway, that's cool. Let's get back to our review here.